Avoidant personality disorder is a condition characterized by an intense fear of criticism, judgment, and rejection by others. People with this behavioral pattern long for closeness and acceptance, but are simultaneously afraid of being hurt, which leads them to avoid social situations where they might be negatively evaluated. This conflict between the need for connection and the fear of rejection makes life with an avoidant personality full of tension, uncertainty, and loneliness. In everyday interactions, avoidant individuals often appear shy, withdrawn, and insecure. They try to avoid situations that might expose them to criticism or make them feel inadequate. Despite their desire for closeness, they often isolate themselves emotionally, which makes their relationships superficial and difficult to maintain. Behind this restraint, however, lies a deep need to be loved, accepted, and safe. Avoidant personality disorder is not just shyness or embarrassment. It is a persistent pattern of thinking, feeling, and behaving that affects all areas of life, from work to relationships to daily functioning. Understanding this disorder helps to recognize the overwhelming power of fear and the importance of support and patience when dealing with avoidant individuals. Relationships with a person who has avoidant personality disorder are often marked by tenderness, but also by tensions arising from their inner fear of closeness and rejection. An avoidant individual longs for acceptance and love, but is afraid to open up to others out of fear of criticism and abandonment. As a result, they withdraw emotionally to protect themselves from being hurt, which can be perceived by partners and close ones as coldness or indifference. In relationships, they avoid expressing their own needs and feelings, and often hide their true emotions to avoid being judged. They may avoid conflicts and difficult conversations, which leads to increasing tension and a sense of misunderstanding on both sides. Avoidant individuals also tend to overanalyze their own behavior and fears, which deepens their isolation and makes building intimacy more difficult. Close partners often feel frustrated because, despite all efforts, they cannot fully reach the avoidant person or establish a deep, open connection. In a relationship with an avoidant individual, it is essential to maintain patience, gentleness, and respect for their boundaries while gradually building trust and a sense of safety. Only then can fear be overcome and true closeness based on mutual understanding and acceptance be created. The diagnosis of avoidant personality disorder is based on the analysis of stable behavioral and emotional patterns that appear across various areas of life and have been present since early adulthood. The main diagnostic criteria are outlined in the DSM-5 and ICD-11 classifications. A person may receive the diagnosis if they meet at least 4 of the following criteria, according to the DSM-5. Avoidance of occupational or social activities that involve interpersonal contact due to fear of criticism, disapproval, or rejection. Reluctance to engage in relationships unless certain of being accepted. Restraint in emotional expression due to fear of humiliation or shame. Viewing oneself as socially inept, personally unappealing, or inferior to others. Intense fear of criticism or rejection, leading to avoidance of social contacts. Avoidance of risks and new situations that might lead to feelings of embarrassment. The diagnostic process requires a thorough clinical history, an assessment of functioning across different areas of life, and the exclusion of other disorders such as anxiety disorders, depression, or other personality disorders. The diagnosis should be made by a qualified professional based on a comprehensive evaluation and observation of behavioral and emotional patterns. Examples of individuals with avoidant personality disorder show how an intense fear of judgment and rejection shapes their daily behavior and relationships with others. Although they often appear shy and withdrawn, beneath the surface lies a deep need for acceptance and closeness. 1. Marta, office specialist. Marta avoids participating in company social events and presentations out of fear of criticism. She prefers working in the background to avoid drawing attention to herself. When someone focuses on her, she feels uncomfortable and withdraws. Although she dreams of a promotion, she is afraid to propose her own ideas due to fear of rejection. 2. Tomek, student. At university, Tomek rarely speaks up in class and avoids group projects. He fears that others will see him as incompetent or boring. In social situations, he is reserved, even though he longs for close friendships. He often declines invitations to avoid potential criticism. 3. Enya, mother of 2 children. Nia avoids meeting other parents at the playground because she fears being judged for her parenting style. In family relationships, she is warm but rarely speaks openly about her needs and feelings. She feels insecure when she has to voice her opinion in a larger group. 4. Paweł, corporate employee. Paweł struggles to make new connections at work. He avoids conversations during coffee breaks and team-building events out of fear of being criticized for his views or behavior. He prefers to keep his distance to protect himself from rejection. These examples show that people with avoidant personality disorder live in a constant state of tension between the desire for closeness and the fear of judgment. Their reserve and withdrawal are not signs of disinterest, but protective mechanisms against emotional pain. Therapy for individuals with avoidant personality disorder focuses on building self-esteem, overcoming the fear of rejection, and developing the skills necessary to form and maintain close relationships. These individuals often seek therapy due to chronic feelings of loneliness, avoidance of social situations, or problems in their relationships. Individual therapy. The foundation of treatment is psychotherapy, particularly cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, which helps change negative beliefs about oneself and the world, and teaches how to manage social anxiety. Psychodynamic therapy can also be helpful in uncovering the roots of fear and avoidance, which are often tied to early childhood experiences. Therapeutic relationship. It is essential that the therapist creates a safe and supportive environment that allows the patient time to gradually open up. Avoidant individuals may take a long time to test boundaries and are often afraid of closeness, which is why the therapist's patience and consistency are crucial. Therapy gives them the opportunity to experience relationships without the fear of rejection. Pharmacotherapy. Anti-anxiety or antidepressant medications can be used as supportive measures, especially when mood swings or severe social anxiety are present. These medications do not replace therapy, but can help manage symptoms more effectively. Support for loved ones. Family members and friends of individuals with avoidant personality disorder often feel frustrated by the emotional distance and withdrawal, which can be mistakenly perceived as indifference. Psychoeducation helps them understand that avoidance is a defense mechanism, not a lack of interest. Loved ones can support the person in building the courage to connect, but without pressure or criticism. Goals of support. Strengthening self-esteem and self-acceptance. Developing skills to cope with fear and criticism. Encouraging gradual participation in social relationships. Establishing healthy boundaries and self-assertion. Enabling experiences of closeness without fear of rejection. The therapeutic process requires time and perseverance. Individuals with avoidant personality disorder often struggle with an internal conflict between the need for closeness and the fear of it, which is why therapy must proceed at a pace that matches their emotional capacity. Appropriate support can significantly improve their quality of life and relationships with others. Avoidant personality disorder is characterized by a deep fear of criticism, rejection, and the feeling of not being accepted. People with this disorder long for closeness and relationships, but often avoid contact out of fear of being hurt or negatively judged. Their social lives are often limited, and their relationships are marked by distance and uncertainty. Do people with avoidant personality disorder truly want contact with others, or do they prefer to be alone? Most of them desire closeness, but the fear of rejection often leads to isolation. It's not a lack of desire, but fear that paralyzes them. Why are avoidant individuals afraid of entering relationships? They fear negative evaluation and rejection. Every interaction feels like a potential source of pain, so they withdraw before they can get hurt. Can you help an avoidant person if they don't want to change? Help is only effective if the person engages in therapy or works on themselves. Loved ones can create a safe space and show acceptance, but change must come from the person themselves. How can one distinguish avoidant personality disorder from shyness? Shyness is a temperamental trait that often lessens over time. Avoidant personality disorder is a persistent pattern that affects many areas of life and leads to intense fear and isolation, even when the person desires closeness. Can avoidant individuals maintain close relationships? They can, but those relationships are often emotionally limited and marked by distance. Closeness is difficult for them because it carries the risk of being hurt. How should one respond when an avoidant person withdraws? It's best not to apply pressure, to show understanding, and to give them space, while signaling a willingness to communicate when they are ready. Does therapy help? Yes, especially when carried out patiently and with sensitivity to the person's fears. Therapy teaches how to gradually step outside the comfort zone and build a sense of safety. Do avoidant individuals have a chance to change? Yes, even if the process is slow. Over time, they can learn to trust themselves and others, which gives them greater freedom in social interactions. How can loved ones support an avoidant person? Through patience, acceptance, and avoiding judgment. It's important to encourage small steps toward openness, but without applying pressure. Avoidant personality disorder is a pattern of functioning dominated by intense fear of criticism, rejection, and the feeling of not being accepted. People with this disorder long for closeness, yet simultaneously fear being hurt, which leads them to avoid social relationships and situations that might create emotional tension. Their life is a daily struggle between the need for connection and the fear of rejection. In relationships, avoidant individuals often maintain distance and caution, find it difficult to build trust, and communicate only to a limited extent. Yet behind this restraint lies a deep need for acceptance and understanding. They tend to view themselves as less worthy, which further reinforces their isolation. Therapy offers a path to overcome these barriers. It helps gradually build self-confidence, develop the ability to form and maintain close relationships, and teaches constructive ways to cope with fear. Support from loved ones, based on patience, acceptance, and the creation of a safe space, is crucial to the healing process. Avoidant personality disorder does not have to define one's life permanently. With the right help and commitment, change is possible, leading to greater emotional freedom and more fulfilling relationships with others. Avoidant personality disorder is a pattern of functioning dominated by intense fear of criticism, rejection, and the feeling of not being accepted. People with this disorder long for closeness, yet simultaneously fear being hurt, which leads them to avoid social relationships and situations that might create emotional tension. Their life is a daily struggle between the need for connection and the fear of rejection. In relationships, avoidant individuals often maintain distance and caution, find it difficult to build trust, and communicate only to a limited extent. Yet behind this restraint lies a deep need for acceptance and understanding. They tend to view themselves as less worthy, which further reinforces their isolation. Therapy offers a path to overcome these barriers. It helps gradually build self-confidence, develop the ability to form and maintain close relationships, and teaches constructive ways to cope with fear. Support from loved ones, based on patience, acceptance, and the creation of a safe space, is crucial to the healing process. Avoidant personality disorder does not have to define one's life permanently. With the right help and commitment, change is possible, leading to greater emotional freedom and more fulfilling relationships with others.